Welcome back to the Bitcoin Business Bureau. I'm your host, as always, LitecoinLeader. Today we're doing a coin review, and we're going to go over a coin that just barely missed the cut for me for Altcoinopoly. And in retrospect, I probably would add it now. I will go over my rating for the coin, but this coin is a coin called Tezos, which is XTZ, is its ticker symbol. As you know, I like a lot of projects that are platforms, and this project is a platform. It's a blockchain built from the ground up, and it's very similar to, well, it's similar into what it can do, like similar to Cardano or Polkadot, a little bit of EOS, Theta, a little bit of like. It has smart contracts. It has the ability to building decentralized applications or dApps. And it's got a lot of staking features too. It's actually one of the more dominant staking coins that's out there because of such a high percentage of the coins are staked. So we're going to take a look at the news. We're going to take a look at the charts. We're going to add a little bit of woo-woo too for a change. And then I'll give you my rating and a little wrap up at the end.
Just a quick reminder that nothing in this video is considered financial advice. I am not your financial advisor. This is not financial advice. Seek out your own advice and do your own diligence, do your own research.
So first, as always, I like to start with the sources that I use for Tezos and the information that I'm getting. I used 4 different videos from YouTube, 2 from Coin Bureau, here's one, and here's 2. And here's the third one I used it was Altcoin Daily. Let's see, I think it's right there. Yes, that's Altcoin Daily. And then the fourth one is a little bit of woo-woo because I wanted to bring that in, and it came up recently. But this is Dick Allgeier and the Crypto Viewing team who happened to mention this coin, and I'll mention that a little bit when I go over the charting. So let's talk about the project Tezos. So what is Tezos? I also looked at their main website. It's Tezos.com. You can go through all here and see lots of information about it. The summary really is that Tezos is its own blockchain. It's its own platform, and it was never built. It was built from the ground up. It was never on anything else like Ethereum or anything else that migrated away from a different blockchain. It's been its own blockchain the entire time. So that's significant. They built their own style of how they did everything. It's a proof of stake coin with a special version of proof of stake, which I'll mention in a moment. And they've had some ups and downs, both before they went to an ICO in 2017, 2018 timeframe, and also with the SEC, which I'll also mention. So let's start with the team. So here's a photo of the team, and we have Arthur Brighton, who is a computer scientist, and he started this along with his wife Kathleen Brighton, both pictured here. And they formed a dynamic ledger solution company in, I think, 2015, and they owned the source code to Tezos. Now, since the couple had some differences between each other, and they had some issues, and since that foundation time, it's been a rocky road to, like, I'd say, really last year. So they had some issues. They moved past them. Tim Draper has gotten involved in the project, and a few other dominant people in the cryptocurrency space have been involved in the project. So there's a lot of backing behind this team. They went in ICO. It was very successful. The huge amount of coins that they received back in their ICO stage, when they got a lot of Bitcoin and Ethereum from their ICO, and that was when both those coins were relatively cheap. So they probably have over $1 billion as far as a stockpile of funds. So they're well funded. They've got plenty of funds to continue the development of Tezos, plus to invest in other projects. So since the time of the ICO, they moved on to there's now a Tezos Foundation, which now runs things versus the Brightons. They've moved on for the dynamic ledger, and again, they built a project from the ground up. It is a proof of stake coin, or what they call a liquid proof of stake, and that's a certain flavor of proof of staking. The key thing is that staking is a huge part of Tezos, and it's probably the #1 staked coin, meaning that a large percentage of the project, 75 to 80% of all Tezos coins are staked, and that's significant. It's very easy to stake. People get rewarded quite often from the staking from Tezos, and that's how they participate in the network. So you stake your coins. That becomes, you get aggregated into a baker who makes they make the next blocks on the blockchain, and that's part of the liquid proof of stake concept, and it's worked very well. The issues with the project has all been outside of the blockchain. They've not really had any on-chain issues. The liquid proof of stake works. That affords them a unique type of governance, which allows them to upgrade in a self-amending style. So self-amending upgrade means that they don't need to do any forks. So if they do a major change, they have a means of just incorporating it. So if someone proposes a change, let's say Bitcoin, it'll be a potential fork. Same for Ethereum. But in Tezos, there's different things proposed all the time. And then if you get accepted into making that change, part of that acceptance is that you get funded for it from Tezos coins. So you have a fund to work with making those changes. And the way the blockchain, it just folds that change in, kind of like in a, call it a test net, and then it gets adapted into it. So Tezos you can make small, medium, or large size changes on Tezos, and you'll never have a fork just because of the way that it evolves. So it's quite strong in that regard. It's a smart contract platform. They have dApps. They have their own language called Michelson, and they have, like I said, they have a large stockpile of funds. They have big backing and names like Tim Draper, and the only downside that people have pointed out for Tezos is there's no max supply of Tezos. Tezos can actually inflates about 5 to 6% a year, but because of what they call the convenience yield, you can pretty much prove that the scarcity of the coin leads to a relative deflationary behavior, meaning that even though it's technically not deflationary, because they add 5 or 6% of coins each and every year, because so many coins are staked, and it's so hard to get the coin, you basically can, buying it now versus waiting to buy it later, you're actually there's more benefit that's shown in the convenience yield paper that they wrote, by getting it now versus waiting to the future, that it's sort of almost like a deflationary coin. It's the analogy that they make is like, imagine if you could have $100 now versus $110 later, say a year from now. Most people would take the $100, even though you would wait and get that 10%. And that's the convenience yield. Even though you're adding 5 or 10% a year, because you can get it now and you can have the benefits sooner of having that $100 versus waiting a year, and we all know what the inflation is like right now, sometimes it's better off that way. So the 5 to 6% inflation is really insignificant, and that's been proven over time. So now that Tezos has kind of moved on, like their final hurdle after their ICO was this last thing I want to point out, which is there's a lawsuit filed against them by the SEC, of course. So they challenged that the ICO was not legitimate. So rather than go to full litigation, because Tezos had quite a nest egg from their ICO, they reached a settlement for $25 million and just said, okay, we're not going to take this to litigate. We're not going to try and say we're right, you're wrong, who's going to win. Tezos just paid the SEC $25 million to say, let's just end this. Now, they did not add any clarity as to whether Tezos is a security or not. So there is that risk there. But for the most part, the fact that Tezos complied well, and they also have been cooperating with, let me find one more story. Here it is. So this is a story from Forbes. Coinbase, Polychain, and Tezos have been meeting with the SEC last year, just to make sure that they were doing the right things by the SEC and they wouldn't face further litigation. So that just says that Tezos has been very cooperative with the SEC, which is a positive. So they've cleared the hurdle with the SEC. They've done a lot of development. There's lots more dApps, and Tezos is getting a lot more notoriety now in a positive way as yet another alternative to Ethereum. So now with Polkadot getting attention, and Cardano getting attention, and other coins getting attention. Now even Atom's Cosmos is getting attention. Tezos is next. So Tezos is getting more attention. There's plenty of staking. There's lots to like about this coin. So that's pretty much the news. So let me move on to the chart. Before I head to the charts, I wanted to touch on two things I had not covered just yet, which is the first one is that Altcoin Daily and they covered the story very well. So they wanted to point out several different altcoins that could do well, and they just recently talked about Tezos and brought to a lot of people's attention the fact that Tezos was heading up because it's getting adoption now. Not only is it strong, but people are adopting it. So the headline reads that the Swiss firms are picking out Tezos as their standard. So what does that mean? A Swiss-based blockchain and financial company like Crypto Finance Group, Incor Bank, and Enacta have selected Tezos as their blockchain partner for compliant digital financial products. That means that they're picking Tezos among all the different choices of blockchains to work with. These financial institutions are choosing Tezos first. And the reason they're choosing it is because they chose it because their on-chain governance allows upgrades without disrupting or splitting the network. That again, going back to the liquid proof of stake and also the self-amending governance. The fact that you can make an upgrade without causing a fork. That's huge for them. You don't want any disruptions into a financial network. So using Tezos makes a lot of sense. And then lastly, from the same story, Incor Bank also announced that they would become the first B2B bank or business-to-business bank in Switzerland to launch institutional grade trading, storage, and staking services for the Tezos network. So basically, this is a business-to-business custodian type situation. They're offering institutional customers yield earning products on the Tezos blockchain. Very significant. Now, the last story, which I did not cover earlier, which is we're going to add a little bit of woo-woo to this. Dick Allgeier, if you don't know that name, he has a channel called Crypto Viewing. He wasn't in blockchain a couple years ago, and then he got more and more into the space as he learned about, he saw a vision of Theta, learned about Bitcoin, got more and more involved, and now he's got a team of crypto viewers, remote viewers that often are tasked with doing crypto viewings or crypto information gathering. So one of his viewers got a download of a coin that he thought was going to double in the next month or so. That coin happened to be Tezos. And that's the video where this video talks about that. And this is going to lead into my charting where I can show strong evidence that that could very well likely happen. Not financial advice, but that's what the charts are saying. So let's take a look at the charts now. All right, Tezos and its charting. So we're going to start first with the price of Tezos against the US dollar, and then we'll look at against Bitcoin itself, and we'll also take a look at the chart as far as it in Coinbase or on CoinMarketCap, excuse me. So right now, as I mentioned, and I'll link this as well, like I did a video, I think it was Monday or recently, about the cup with handle formation, and that is what I see with Tezos. So Tezos this is a 1-year chart. It was going up and then it pulled back down, but this is the start of the cup right here, and you could draw actually a cup here with a handle from 17 May to about end of August, and then it dropped down a little bit or formed a little handle, a little downward. So you can draw a couple different things, and when you measure a cup with handle, you draw a line at the top of the cup, the neck of the cup. So this is a 5.5, and we have the bottom of the cup at say 2.25, 2.3. So the way you measure where you set a price target on a cup with handle is you measure the neck of the cup down to the bottom of the cup and see the distance. So the distance here is 3.25, call it 3.2. So if you add 3.2 to 5.5, that's a good target, but also remember that the handle can go down, so you might have to add 3.2 to something in the 4.5 range. So let's just call it 4. If I said it was 4.8 and add 3.2, our target would be 8, which is right about where the top of the all-time high is. I think the all-time high is right about 8.5. So that is almost achieved already because it came down and then it started to go up. And then you could see, as I mentioned in the same video, look at the volume pickup. The volume picked up over the last several days and it broke up and out and it hit the $8 mark. Now, if it breaks again, we could be having another cup with handle in a larger scale from the all-time high in early May down to, again, 2.5, and then hitting 8 again, and it may trail off into the 7s and 6s again. So I would not be surprised to see something in the 6s range. And again, none of this is financial advice, but if it got below 7, I could see a reasonable target where if you measure from 8 down to 2.3, that's 5.5. Let's just call it 5.5 for simple numbers. That puts you as a target up to 13.5 from where it's currently in the 7.25 range. So if it blows off this top, this all-time high of 8 and change, there could definitely be a huge run up to 13 plus. And that could happen in a short amount of time. You could see how fast it went from 4 to over 7 in about a week. So does it have the room? The reasonable question now, does it have the room for it to grow this much? Can it double or close to it again? This is where we can look at the versus the Bitcoin chart, and then again on the coin market cap. So looking at, I think this is the all-time high for, this is the all-time chart for Bitcoin. And you can see right now we are presently at about I'll say 0.00016 Bitcoin is what one Tezos costs. Let's just call it 16,000 in Satoshis. 20,000 looks like a reasonable neckline here and a lot of resistance here for on a monthly chart for it to get up to that point. So that is about a 25% increase. A 25% increase, going back to the dollar, 25% of 7, that's almost 2. So that will put you about the 8.5 range. So you're going to get to the all-time high and hitting that resistance. But if you look, this is why I zoomed out so much. If you look even further, the all-time high against Bitcoin, and I'm only going to use the bar part, not the I'll use the body of the bars versus the trailing or the leading edges here. So I can't. The term is escaping me on the rest of the terminology for the threads that are on either side of the body. But let's just focus here. Now I drew a line right here. You can get a clear resistance at 32,000, but we're at 16,000. So again, we can clearly double against Bitcoin. So imagine if it goes up twice against Bitcoin, probably Bitcoin is going to go up. You could see a 2 or 3x in Tezos. Again, not financial advice, but let's just say Tezos triples. So Tezos market cap right now, if I find Tezos is coin around 30. There it is. Exactly, number 30. It's at 737. It is $6.4 billion. If I triple that number, I essentially get to $19 billion. Well, let's scroll up to the $19 billion range and see where that would put Tezos. That would put it just outside the top 10, above Terra, below Polkadot. So it would be half the size of Polkadot. It would be 40%, 38% of Solana, and 19 billion. Where's Cardano? 78. So you're looking at a quarter of the size of Cardano. So Tezos has a competition to Ethereum. Looking at the competitors to Ethereum right now, we have Cardano, we have Polkadot, we have Solana. Those are the leading contenders, and we also have it right next door to Theta and above Zilliqa and near EOS too. So it's in that range. So the upside here is I believe that there's plenty of room for Tezos to go up 2 or 3x. The chart shows that there's plenty of room to get to that 2x. When you break the all-time high in U.S. dollars, it can certainly run, and for another week it could certainly run as well. So we're looking, and when the volume is looking like this is definitely a point where this is breaking out. It broke the first cup level at 550 and went from 4 to the 7s. But if it would start to trail off again, as the people here in the 7 to 8 range start to sell, if we get a handle in the 7, between 6 and 8, you could either, not financial advice, but the chart says that would be a good acquisition point, and it would not be surprised to jump. And once it gets above 8.5, it could run to 13.
So that's the coin for today. It's Tezos. Where would I score it? On the altcoinopoly scale of 1 to 5, I would probably put it between 4 and 5. I wouldn't give it a 5. I'd probably land at 4, maybe 4.5. It's that strong of a coin because they've cleared up the SEC issues. They've cleared up a lot of the things. It's getting adoption now. It's got so much staking. There's like the fact that it's somewhat inflationary has been proven that it's not so bad because so much staking is really leading to more scarcity. So it's deflationary in nature because 75 to 80% of the coins are held. Plus the woo-woo story where like one of Dick Allgire's remote viewers saw it's going to go double. So I think that's got a strong case for going up. I think that's got a good future. It's got a lot of adoption. We saw the stories from Altcoin Daily, how it's being adopted. There's lots to like about it. It's got smart contracts. It's got dApps on there. People are developing it in their own language, and I don't know if there's portability from the Ethereum project. I don't believe that's the case. So that's not quite an Ethereum killer, because you can't just pick up a project and move it over there that you can with Cardano or Theta or Zilliqa. But it's a strong project, and if I was redoing Altcoinopoly, it would definitely have a space on the board. So I'm going to give it a 4 or 4.5. Let's give it a 4.25. I've never done a 4.25, but so what? We're doing it live, somewhat. 4.25 it is for Tezos. It's a strong project. I think it's not financial advice, of course, but I give it an endorsement here as a strong project and as a strong platform. It's going to be around for a while. I think it's got plenty of room to run as well. So not financial advice, but based on the charting, if it dips below that, in that $6 to $7 window, I think it could be an excellent buying opportunity if you're looking to add more Tezos or getting into it from a zero position. So it's worth a look. So give it a look at, and definitely stake it if you have it. I believe Exodus and many other wallets have staking very simply for a couple clicks. So lots said about this coin. Again, I give it the thumbs up. That's all for today. I'm going to close the drawer of the bureau, and I'll see you next time.